Would you like to tell us about your books?
Sir?
Would you like to tell us about your
Oh,
books?
sorry, yes. Yes.
No detail like that.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to it. It just came out, and I've been handing out cigars. That's it. We treat new books like babies, you know, and
Yes. They were conceived with Giuseppe V's.
yeah. And TMI, we're not going to go any farther. I like that. Once a book came out, and my editor said, "It's a book." And that was such a nice play on "It's a boy or a girl." I always appreciated that. About 15 years ago, was at the Elmwood Park in Norristown, Pennsylvania, which is the setting of some of the story that happens in my book Maniac McGee. And school kids were visiting and so forth, and I guess that's what brought me out for the occasion, maybe to talk to them. I don't remember. In the park band show. And the event was over, and somebody comes over, one of the teachers, and says, I'm from Norristown too, and I grew up in prison. Well, that got my attention. And she went on to explain that her father was the warden of the Montgomery County Prison, and their living quarters were right there on site, right above the entrance of the prison. You can see it to this day. It's standing, it looks as though an armored knight should come clattering forth on a drawbridge or something. It looks totally out of place on Erie Street in Norristown. It was built in 1850 and looks like something lost out of the Middle Ages, or a Norman fortress, or a Gothic cathedral, a castle. But there it is. It's been abandoned for almost 50 years now. What used to be the exercise yard for the women inmates is now a parking lot for the police department. But that's, so I met, her name is Ellen Adams. She lives in New Jersey. It took me some years. Sometimes we can be so dumb, you know. There was a story, a girl grows up in prison. She gave it to me. And I just let it sit there, you know, for years. And then finally I woke up. A girl grows up in prison. And I cooked up a story to go around that line. And the result is this book, which I told Ellen. I said, this is not your story. This is not your biography. She wanted me to include her dog. Her beloved dog. I forget his name, but he was so small that he used to squeeze between the bars and go visit the inmates in the prison. But I couldn't find a place. To this day, I feel rotten about that I couldn't find a place for the dog in the story. But Ellen accepts the fact that this is not her story. It's made up stuff. But she loves it anyway, and that's the only critic that matters to me.
Would you like to read briefly from it, or would you like to do a little brief reading?
That's up to you. You're the boss here.
Okay, would anyone like to hear a reading?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somehow I thought that would be the answer.
Okay. The first part is brief. The first part is called Camille. The main character, the narrator, is Camille. She is telling the story from 2017. She's a grandmother. Most of the story takes place in the summer of 1959. She tells the story looking back at that time when she was 12, about to turn 13. It's a birdhouse now. Used to be a jailhouse, the Hancock County Prison. Cell blocks once rang with bean bobbers on iron bars and bad words flying day and night. Now finches and warblers and scarlet tanagers sing and flutter behind walls of glass. The old quiet room, with its glass roof and tin wheelbarrow pouring water into a tiny pool, was designed to keep the prisoners calm. Almost no one went there but the trustees who tended the plants and flowers. Now, children squeal as butterflies land on their heads and shoulders. Where there used to be 2 exercise yards, men's and women's, there is now a single garden, a paradise where turtles and peacocks roam. It has a second waterfall, high as the wall, pebbled paths, ponds, water lilies, foot-long goldfish. An occasional turkey buzzard lands wherever it likes. Except for the sign, it looks the same as always from the front, like a fortress from the Middle Ages. Massive, sooty stone walls, arched oaken doors, a sky-piercing tower with narrow bow and arrow slots should the castle ever need defending. The prison was 1 city block long. It was home to over 200 inmates, men and women, from shoplifters to murderers. And 1 family, mine. I was the warden's daughter. And then it shifts to Cami, 1959, for most of the rest of the book.